The still undefeated Chicago Bears, which I have no idea how in week 4 we're still undefeated, but somehow, guys, we're 3-0. We're going to be taking on our toughest challenge of the season so far in the 2-1 Indianapolis Colts, who have the #1 defense in the NFL right now, and we're going to be led by our new starting quarterback, Nick Foles. Before I begin talking about this game, I want to talk about my sponsor for this video, DraftKings Sportsbook. The past 3 weeks have been a lot of fun for me, guys, because as the Bears have won, my bank account has also been winning because I've won a lot of money by betting on the Chicago Bears to win all those games, okay? Even though we barely won those games, even though my heart has been like in a million pieces throughout the past 3 weeks, eventually we still won those games and I still won the money. So I'm pretty much up like 600 bucks right now from all these previous wins. And I'm having a lot of fun, you know, betting on a lot of different sports. On basketball, NBA finals are on right now. There's a lot of other sports going on too, like MLB playoffs. So there's a lot of sports to bet on right now. If you're looking for the best app to download to bet on sports, I would highly recommend downloading the DraftKings Sportsbook app. It's the #1 top-rated sportsbook app in all of America. It's based right here in the USA, so you can rest assured that your funds are going to be completely safe and secure with them. You can withdraw and deposit money at any time you want at your own convenience. So I've been using this app for a couple months now, and it's been nothing but great for me. Like, I've been winning a decent amount of cash, and I didn't know that much about sports betting going into this, but the app is very beginner friendly. So even if you don't understand, you know, all the crazy numbers, all the different odds, like, you can very clearly see how much money you win by placing a certain bet. So it's very easy in that regard for a beginner to use, and I would highly recommend it if you just want to start, you know, betting on sports. Now, if you do want to download this app, use the link in my description box down below and use promo code DaWindyCity while signing up. With that promo code, all new users can bet $1 on any NFL team and they can win $100 if that team actually wins. So if you are very confident in the Bears winning this weekend or any other team like the Seahawks, the Falcons, I mean, probably don't pick the Falcons because that team is very good at choking. So don't pick the Falcons, but whatever team you want to pick, you know, bet $1 on them. You could turn that into $100 and a lot of cash, you know, in your account to start out. So that's a very cool promo code for all you new guys out there. Head on over to the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and check out all they have to offer because they have a ton of different bets you can possibly place. They have prop betting, so you can bet on stuff like David Montgomery scoring the first touchdown the next game. You can bet on stuff like Nick Foles having a certain amount of passing yards. Like, if you think you know sports, why not bet on it and earn, you know, some money with it? So find one that you like and potentially win some cash. Now, if DraftKings Sportsbook is not available in your state, be sure to download the DraftKings Fantasy app because they're giving away millions of dollars of prizes there as well every week. So, you know, overall, DraftKings Sportsbook, man, it's a great app. I've been using it a lot and I would highly recommend it if you guys want to bet on professional sports. What's up, guys? I'm back with the Chicago Bears weekly prediction videos. This time we got a week 4 matchup against the Indianapolis Colts, who are led by new starting quarterback Philip Rivers and a really damn good defense, which is somehow the #1 defense in the entire NFL. So it's going to be a really tough matchup, I have to say, before we begin. Be sure to follow me on all my social medias, on Instagram, on Twitter, because I post a lot of stuff there. I interact with a lot of you guys. I post my live reactions during games. So I'll be tweeting pretty much throughout every game, just giving you guys my reactions. So if you guys want to see that, be sure to follow me there. But guys, this is the first video I've ever made on my channel where Mitch Trubisky is no longer the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears. It feels so weird to even say that because for the past 3 years, pretty much, we've all been invested into Mitch. We've all been like, oh, Mitch is going to be our next starting quarterback. He's going to be the next franchise guy. He's going to be the first good quarterback the Bears have ever had. And as of right now, it's looking like that's not going to be the case because he's been benched due to his play. Yeah, in the past 2 years, he's been out of games due to injury, but this is the first time ever where he's been benched due to his poor play, and he's no longer the starting quarterback going forward. So that, I mean, it's weird to think about that, okay? Because a quarterback change is a very big deal. That's a massive deal for your franchise. It changes a lot of things. It changes the entire dynamics of your franchise because after all, the quarterback is the most important part of your franchise. So, you know, I'm not saying that Nick Foles is going to be here long term. That's probably not going to be the case. But as of now, the face of the franchise is Nick Foles because he is the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears. And you Mitch fans have to accept that, okay? I'm still rooting for Mitch as well. I still love the kid. I still wish him a lot of success. I'm still rooting for the comeback story. But you guys have to face the facts and get over Mitch, okay? Mitch is no longer going to be talked about in Chicago because right now, it is the Nick Foles show. I've seen people on social media, in Bears social media posts, even in my own comment section, say that they have the nerve to cheer against Nick Foles. Okay, they're actually cheering against Nick Foles in this upcoming game so that they can prove us unloyal, bandwagon, Mitch-hating Bears fans that we were wrong. Okay, the only thing that matters to them is being right. They don't care about if the Bears win. They care about being right, which is absolutely insane to me. Okay, if you think like that, just get the hell out of this channel. Okay, because I'm a Bears fan. I'm going to support whoever the hell QB number 1 is. And right now, that is Nick Foles. So get behind Nick Foles or get out, because right now he is the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears. With all that said, let me get into my next point in this video, and that is that the Chicago Bears, for being a 3-0 team, for being undefeated, we're not getting a lot of respect, okay, from the media, from the fans, pretty much anybody you ask. They say that we are the worst 3-0 football team ever, okay, that we still can't beat anybody, that we barely won all of our games. We don't deserve to be here, okay? If you play Among Us, they're making memes about us being the imposter 3-0 football team, which I do get their concerns to some extent, because we did barely beat teams. We don't have a very impressive win, but at the end of the day, 3-0 is still 3-0. And if we're 4-0, if we're 5-0, if we're 6-0, they're still going to call us like the worst 6-0 football team ever. They're going to call us the worst 7-0 football team ever. Even if we go undefeated, they're going to call us the worst undefeated team ever. That's how much people like to clown on the Chicago Bears. So even if we do get this victory, which in my opinion would be a pretty impressive win against a team like the Colts, who are 2-1 right now, they have been winning football games. They have been blowing out their opposition, okay? They blew out the Jets and the Vikings, which I do get the Jets and the Vikings are not very impressive teams either. They're not impressive wins to have, but to be blowing them out like they have, you know, that's something that we have not done. So if we can beat a team like that, who also has the best defense in the league right now, that would be an impressive victory, no matter what the media wants to say. So like I've been saying in this video, this team is going to be really tough to beat. It's not going to be any cakewalk. It's not going to be any easy victory, because this team is really well coached. They have Frank Reich, who is a really great coach in my opinion. He has turned this team around. They have a really great offensive line. Their defense has been playing lights out. They have a quarterback in Phillip Rivers, who has been in the NFL for a while now. He's seen a lot of different defenses. He has had a decent amount of success in this league. So overall, it's a really well-constructed roster. They're playing really good football right now. So if we can beat this team, you know, it's going to say a lot of good things about the Chicago Bears. Let me quickly talk now about how the Bears and the Colts did in their last matchup. So the Bears, I don't have to talk about too much, because we obviously know how the Bears did in the last game. I mean, it was a last-second heart-stopping victory in which we didn't look that great over the first 45 minutes. But in that last quarter, man, our defense showed up. We got a lot of pressure on Matt Ryan, forced a turnover, and forced a lot of 3-and-outs as well, which, you know, gave the opportunity to our offense to score a lot of points. Okay, we put up 20 points in that fourth quarter, coming back from being down 16 points. Nick Foles looked really good in that fourth quarter. So overall, it was a very good team win, but it wasn't like an impressive win from beginning to end, because we really only played one quarter of football. Now, the Colts, on the other hand, looked dominant from beginning to end, but they were playing the New York Jets, so take that with a grain of salt, because the Jets are probably the worst franchise in the league right now. They're playing really bad football. So the Colts didn't beat an impressive team by any means, but to win that game by a score of 36-7, to force 2 pick sixes, pretty much allow Sam Darnold to do virtually nothing throughout the entirety of that game, that was a dominant victory, even considering how bad the opposition was. You know, they didn't barely beat this Jets team. They beat them by a lot. So that shows that their defense was on a totally different level. Their offense didn't do that much, but they didn't really have to, because their defense was handling the entire loads. If I look at the Colts' other games, they didn't look that impressive in the opener against the Jaguars. They lost that game by 7 points. They allowed 27 points to Gardner Minshew and that Jaguars offense, which was pretty suspect, but it seemed like that was only rust, because after that, they blew out the Vikings. Now, the Vikings are not that good of a football team either, but they held the Vikings to only 11 points when other teams like the Packers and, you know, I forgot who they played last. Who was it? I'm blanking on who they played last, but other teams have scored a lot of points against the Vikings, but the Colts only allowed them to score 11 points, and they held Kirk Cousins to, I think, under 150 yards. He had 3 interceptions, just a terrible stat line. So their defense is playing lights out. Let me read the stats now for their defense. So the Colts defense is number 1 in points allowed. They only allow 15 points per game. They're number 1 in yards allowed as well. They only allow 225 yards per game. They're number 1 against the pass, number 4 against the run. They're number 3 in takeaways. They have 7 takeaways. They're number 1 also in passer rating allowed. So they only allow a passer rating of 64. So overall, from top to bottom, man, it's a great, well-constructed defense. They have pass rushers, they have dominant safeties and cornerbacks, they have great linebackers. I mean, if I read you guys some of the talent that they have on this defense, like in that secondary specifically, they just added guys recently like Xavier Rhodes, TJ Carey, Tavon Wilson, who hasn't played that much, but this trio that they added over the offseason, which all of them are veterans, guys, in coverage, they've been absolutely dominant so far. Throughout the first 3 games, they've only allowed 7 passes to be completed against them, only for 50 yards and 1 touchdown. And they also have 4 interceptions between the 3 of them, and a 32.81 passer rating allowed. So you can't really pass on these guys at all. I mean, the secondary has been making plays. They have been getting pick sixes. They've been making a lot of plays on the ball. Now, obviously, they haven't faced the best quarterbacks yet, so they've only faced Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins, and Gardner Minshew, which none of those guys really scare anybody in this league. So they're going to have to prove themselves over the rest of the season. But as of now, they're looking pretty dominant as a defense. If I also look at the front 7, they have a lot of playmakers, a lot of, people that can wreak havoc on this front 7. They have guys like DeForest Buckner, who they just acquired this offseason. DeForest Buckner has been having a really good start to the season. He has 1.5 sacks, been dominant on the interior, getting pressure on the quarterback, blowing up these running lanes, and being a freaking force of nature as well. So that's a guy that the Bears offensive line is going to have to watch out for. If you take a look at a guy like Darius Leonard, who has been an all-pro linebacker in the NFL, he's had a really great start to his young career, still super young, really explosive, can make a lot of plays, has a really great instinct for the ball. So Darius Leonard is going to be out there in coverage. That's going to be a guy that Foles is going to have to watch out for. They also have Justin Houston as well, who has been a dominant pass rusher in the past. Now, he is getting a little bit up there in age, but he's still pretty effective at getting pressure on the quarterback. So overall, their front 7 is going to be a little bit scary. They have been getting a lot of pressure in the past. They have been forcing a lot of interceptions, which their secondary has taken full advantage of. So it's going to be a tough defense to beat. On the flip side, their offense has not been as elite. It's still a pretty good offense. It's still getting the job done, but it's nowhere near like the top offense in the NFL right now. So they are number 12 in yards. They average 384 yards per game. They're number 13 in points scored. They score 28 points per game. They're the number 10th passing offense or the number 15th rushing offense. So top 15 in all categories. They are pretty balanced overall. Now, one pretty important stat that I do have to read is that they're number 2 in time of possession. So they've been averaging a lot of time of possession, way more than most teams in the NFL this year, which says that they've been building a lot of long, sustaining drives. Okay, they have a lot of short passes going on, a lot of passes that only go for like below 10 yards, but they build on those passes and they create long, sustaining drives to keep their offense on the field and keep their defense off the field. Now, one glaring weakness on this offense, though, is third down. Okay, when Phillip Rivers and this offense get to third down, they are the worst team in the NFL at converting third downs. They have the worst conversion percentage at only 30.3% of third downs converted. So this team, when it gets to third down, it cannot figure out what to do. On first and second down, they are pretty good. They have been building a lot of long drives, but that's only been on first and second down. If I read you guys the quarterback stats, Phillip Rivers, he hasn't been doing anything amazing so far, but he has been pretty average to begin the year. He has 793 passing yards. He has 3 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions as well, and a passer rating of 99.9, a really high passer rating. And also, he has the highest completion percentage in the NFL at above 70% completion percentage. That's a ridiculously high number, but it's only that high because the Colts offense relies on a lot of short passes. There's not a lot of stuff going down the field. It's mainly, passes that go below 10 or 15 yards. Out of all the passing plays they've ran on offense so far, only 11 have gone for more than 20 yards down the field. So that just shows you guys the majority of their stuff is going to be below 20 yards. I mean, that's what Phillip Rivers really likes at this point in his career. Their top down the field threat, T.Y. Hilton, he has 133 yards right now and no touchdowns. So he has been doing a little bit of something, but he hasn't been doing like amazing things like he has in the past. And they don't have that many other down the field threats right now. So this Colts offense is a little bit one-dimensional when it does come to the passing game. It's mainly only short passes, screens, stuff like that. Their run game has been pretty mediocre so far, but they do have a rookie running back, Jonathan Taylor, who got drafted from Wisconsin. And he's been having a lot of success recently, okay? Against the Jets, he laid some punishing runs against that Jets defense. So he can lay the wood on you, he can run you over, he can pull a lot of moves on you, and it's tough to bring this guy down. So that's a guy that the Bears defense is going to have to watch out for. He has 182 rushing yards right now, 2 rushing touchdowns, only averaging 3.8 yards per carry, so he hasn't been that efficient yet. And that's kind of concerning given the fact that the Colts offensive line is one of the best in the NFL. So that shows you that opposing teams are probably stacking the box against this Colts offense, because this Colts offense does not have a vertical threat to it. They haven't been completing a lot of passes for more than 20 yards. So they're not stretching out the defense, and therefore the defense is putting a lot of guys near the line of scrimmage, making it a lot harder for the running back to gain any yards. So, obviously that's not really affecting their passing game, because their passing game still has been pretty successful. They're number 2 in time of possession. So clearly something is working, but that's the area where the Bears defense is going to have to attack them, okay? Near the line of scrimmage, those short passes, if the Bears defense can stop that, it's going to be very easy for us to win. Enough talking about the Colts. Let me talk about our team now, the Chicago Bears, what their stats are looking like. I won't spend too much time on this because obviously we already know our team the best. We know the strengths and weaknesses, but let me quickly gloss over what this defense is like first of all. So the defense is number 15 in yards per game allowed. They allow 364 yards per game. They're number 9 in points allowed per game. They only allow 21 points per game. They're number 17 against the pass, number 17 against the run, so equally as bad there. They're 12th in turnovers forced. They have 4 so far. And by far the area where the Bears defense is the most elite is on third down. Okay, on third down, the Bears defense has been really successful at getting the opposing quarterbacks off the field. They're number 2 in third down defense. They only allow 30.9% of third downs to be converted against them. So yeah, they do struggle on first and second down, but if they can survive these early downs and get to third down, this Bears defense has been having a lot of success, partly due to the fact that we still have a pretty great pass rush. A lot of people have been saying that our pass rush has not really been showing up so far, that Khalil Mack has been doing nothing. Where's Khalil Mack, right? Is he not earning his money? Like, a lot of people have been hating on Mack, but a lot of those fans are uneducated fans because, guys, just getting sacks on the quarterback, that's not the only way to get pressure on the quarterback. Okay, obviously there's pressures as well. There's QB knockdowns, there's QB hits. There's a whole lot of other stats that actually measure, how much pressure you were getting, how well you were playing as an edge rusher. And Khalil Mack so far this season, guys, PFF grades him as the second best edge rusher in the game right now through the first 3 weeks. And going back and watching the tape, guys, I have to fully agree with that, because if you go back and watch the tape, go back and watch the All 22 if you have access to that. That's on NFL Game Pass. It's pretty much the coach's film. Just key in on Khalil Mack, okay? Just look at what Khalil Mack is doing on every play. He's having to get through chip blocks, through double teams, through triple teams. Like, he has a lot of attention just on him. And he's also getting held a lot of plays as well, pretty much every game. Like, every game I can go back and count at least like 3 or 4 times where Khalil Mack was held, but the referees did not blow the whistle. Or not blow the whistle, but, throw the flag. That's something that it really irks me, because Khalil Mack is not the type of guy that he's going to go up to the ref and complain. But it seems like he might have to at this point in his career, because he never gets the holding calls ever. Hopefully someday they start to call holding against Mack, but even if they don't, guys, like, he has 1.5 sacks, he has 6 pressures, he has the highest success rate against double teams in the league right now. So even if you double him up, like, you're not going to stop him whatsoever. And guys, eventually the sack numbers will come as well. So don't worry at all about Khalil Mack. He's still been having a great start to the year. Robert Quinn is also top 10 in PFF grade. Akeem Hicks has the most sacks for an interior defensive lineman. So our front seven has been having a decent amount of success, with the exception of Danny Trevathan. Okay, Danny Trevathan, how do I put this? I mean, he's been straight bad, okay? He's been horrible through the first 3 games of the year. Chuck Pagano has been trying to disguise this. He's been trying to take him out on passing downs, on third down. He's been putting Deion Bush in a lot, but to put it bluntly, guys, Danny Trevathan is not the same Danny Trevathan we are used to seeing, and I don't know if he's ever going to be that guy again. So maybe we made a mistake, getting rid of Nick Kwiatkowski, getting rid of the other linebackers that we had here, because right now, I mean, I don't have a lot of faith in Danny Trevathan. Hopefully he turns it around, but right now, he is a liability in the passing attack. Now, our front seven also has been pretty bad at stopping the run. We are getting gashed inside, partly because we don't have Eddie Goldman here, and Bilal Nichols, he's not really handling the position of defensive tackle, of nose tackle, really well. He's not that dominant guy that we're used to seeing in Eddie Goldman. So I don't know, like, if we're going to get Snacks Harrison, if that's going to happen, or what we're going to do. But as of now, we're not getting any push from the interior of this defensive line due to, Eddie Goldman not being there. So that's something that, we're going to have to clean up soon, because otherwise all these teams are going to run down our throats the entire game. Now, talking about the Bears offense, I'm not going to talk about this too much because we have a totally different quarterback now, and a different quarterback is going to make these stats look probably a lot different, okay? Not saying that Nick Foles is going to have way more success, but just putting in a different quarterback, you can't just take the stats from the last quarterback and say it's going to be the same for this quarterback. So I'm still going to read you guys the stats though. We're number 17 in yards per game, 368 yards per game. We're number 20 in points per game. We score 25 points per game. We're number 23 in passing offense, number 11 in rushing offense. So way better through the ground than through the air so far this year. We're number 6 in time of possession. So even though, we're not putting the ball in the end zone, we are hanging onto the ball for a long time each game. And, overall, David Montgomery has been having a really great year. Our receivers have been pretty inconsistent. They have been struggling with drops in the end zone, particularly Anthony Miller, cough, and A-Rob sometimes not giving his full effort. But they've also made a lot of plays through the first 3 weeks as well. So overall, there's been a lot of good, but a lot of bad as well with the receivers. And, Jimmy Graham, I do have to talk about also. He's been a really great acquisition for the Chicago Bears offense because he is leading the Bears offense in touchdowns so far. He has 3 just himself. He's been a really great threat for us in the red zone. He's been able to post up against these DBs and put some basketball moves on them. Okay, Jimmy Graham played basketball back in college, and a lot of those basketball skills, man, they still show up because this guy's able to catch the ball over pretty much anybody with his ability to, outmaneuver them in the end zone. So Jimmy Graham has been a really good positive sign. And, overall, the Bears offense, obviously not the best. It has been great in spurts, but not really consistent at all. We're hoping that that's going to change with Nick Foles. Now let me get into the fun part about this video, and that's to talk about these matchups, okay? Which matchups favor the Bears? Which matchups favor the Colts? What are the matchups looking like overall? And pretty much the biggest matchup I do have to talk about is going to be the Colts offensive line versus the Bears defensive line. And I say this because, the Colts offensive line right now, it's looking pretty damn good. They have a lot of good players, a lot of above average players, but they do have one guy also, one superstar that is completely, single-handedly almost made this offense a lot better just by himself, okay? And that guy is Quentin Nelson. I mean, it's not very often that a guard, out of all people, is a superstar, is a game changer in the way that Quentin Nelson actually is, okay? This guy can bulldoze people. He can bully people, pancake people, plow them down to the ground, handle 2 at one time. I mean, there's pretty much nothing that this guy Quentin Nelson cannot do. He is a true superstar. He's one of the best players in the entire NFL, even though he is playing the position of guard, which people don't actually think of as very important. So this guy alone is going to create a lot of, time for Phillip Rivers in the passing attack. He's going to create a lot of running lanes as well for Jonathan Taylor. So that side of the line, Quentin Nelson's line, the Bears are going to have to pay a lot of attention to. They're going to have to put a lot of pressure on that, get some stunts going. Be creative with the blitzes because Chuck Pagano, man, you're not going to be able to power through this Colts offensive line with just simple stuff. Like, that's just not going to happen because this Colts offensive line has a lot of strength, a lot of power on it. And I do like the Bears defensive line as well. I do like, obviously, Akeem Hicks. I mean, he's a superstar as well. So we do have playmakers also on our defensive line. We have a lot of power on our defensive line as well. But as of now, the Colts are probably, I'm probably going to favor the Colts in this matchup because I haven't seen our defensive line dominate like they have in the past. At least guys aside from Akeem Hicks, like Bilal Nichols, Roy Robertson-Harris, the other dudes, they haven't stepped up as much, and they're going to have to if the Bears want to have success in this game. Because, guys, we cannot allow Phillip Rivers to have like all day in the pocket because eventually he is going to find somebody wide open. I mean, look at his completion percentage, 78%. That's ridiculous. Like, he's been having a lot of success with this short passing game. So the Bears are going to have to get immediate pressure on the interior to stop that at any point. And they're also going to have, probably an extra safety on the field because Danny Trevathan is going to get killed in this game with a quarterback like Phillip Rivers, with an offense like this Colts offense, because this Colts offense relies on a lot of slants, a lot of, 10 to 15 yard routes, which Danny Trevathan has struggled a lot in covering. So I'm assuming we play a lot of nickel, get some extra DBs on the field to stop the short passing attack because we're going to have to. Otherwise, Phillip Rivers is just going to get these 5, 6, 7 yard completions and drive down on us and get a lot of time of possession and just wear our defense out. So hopefully we can do that, stop the passing attack. Stopping the run game is also going to be pretty important because we saw Jonathan Taylor, lay out a lot of punishing runs on the opposing linebackers, opposing DBs. So if we are playing a lot of nickel, our defensive backs, they're going to have to tackle a lot better than they have in the past game. Another big matchup is going to be Nick Foles versus the Colts secondary. The Colts secondary right now is playing like the best secondary in the NFL. Obviously, I don't think it is. They've played some pretty poor competition, but nonetheless, they're full of playmakers. They're full of veterans. that know what they are doing, and they're going to make life very difficult on the receivers. So our receivers, I don't foresee them gaining a lot of separation in this one, considering the fact that they also struggled to gain separation in the last few games as well. I forgot what the stat was, but I saw on Twitter that the Bears receivers have struggled so far to gain a lot of separation on their routes. So it's going to be even tougher in a game like this. And it's going to really show us if Nick Foles can truly read a defense, like how good his mental processing skills actually are, which is honestly why we made the move from Trubisky to Nick Foles, because Nick Foles in every way, he's mentally a lot better of a quarterback than Mitch Trubisky is. Yeah, Mitch Trubisky has more athleticism. He's more of a mobile guy. He can extend plays beyond the pocket, make plays like that. But Nick Foles, guys, if you give him enough time in the pocket, he can really dot you up, because his ability to read a defense, know what's coming, call out a blitz, pre-snap, post-snap, make adjustments. He can do all of that because he's been in the NFL for so long. He's seen pretty much every defense there is to see. He's performed in the biggest circumstances, i.e. the Super Bowl, against the best coach of all time, Bill Belichick. So what can this guy not do? Obviously, he has been super inconsistent throughout his career. He has been a career backup for most of his NFL time. So we're not going to act like Nick Foles is a super amazing quarterback that's going to, immediately change your offense completely. But he should be somewhat of an upgrade right now, hopefully, over Mitch Trubisky. One thing that should really benefit us is that Nick Foles, even if he is under pressure, like I think he will be during this game, the Colts do have a pretty good front seven. They have been getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. So Nick Foles is going to come under pressure at some point. He has been really good so far this season at throwing under pressure. Okay, in the last game, if I read you guys the stats, when Nick Foles was under pressure, he was actually a better quarterback than he was without the pressure. Now, the sample size is super small. It was only 6 passes, but on those 6 passes, he was 4 for 6 for 100 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 149.3. That's pretty much perfect, okay? He didn't miss many throws under pressure. That game-winning touchdown pass to Anthony Miller, that was a throw under pressure. He was hit while he made that pass. So if you guys want a larger sample size, though, even in 2018, when he played a lot more games, he was the best passer in the entire NFL when he came to throwing under pressure, even doing better than Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. He was better than those guys while throwing under pressure. So clearly there's something about this dude. I mean, he does not care about taking a hit. He has big balls. He's called Big D Nick, obviously. So there's something about this guy, man. He's fearless throwing under pressure. So that's something that should benefit the Bears, if our offensive line cannot really hold up. And finally, the last matchup I want to talk about is the Colts' third down offense versus the Bears' third down defense. If you guys remember earlier in the video, I said that the Colts had the worst third down offense in the NFL, while the Bears had the second best third down defense in the NFL. So it's a very one-sided stat there, okay? The Colts really struggle at converting third downs, but the Bears are really good at stopping teams on third down. So what's going to happen? If the Bears defense can survive first and second down, get into third and long situations, which Phillip Rivers obviously hates, there's going to be a lot of punts in this game, and the Colts defense is going to be on the field for a long portion of time, which is really going to be ideal for the Chicago Bears. Keep the Colts defense on the field, keep the Colts offense off the field, because they're so good at winning time of possession. So we're going to have to take the time of possession away from them by getting them into third down pretty often. Now, that's easier said than done, because obviously Phillip Rivers is going to get the ball off super fast, and he's going to try to slowly wear down our defense, but Chuck Pagano needs to make sure that that doesn't happen. All right, with all that aside, let me get into my score prediction for this game. Who do I think is going to win this game? So far, I'm 3-0 on my predictions, because obviously I picked the Bears to win every time, and we have somehow won every time, keeping my record perfect. And, for this one, I did have to go back and forth a lot. Like, I probably thought about this for a good, 1 or 2 hours, just thinking on who to pick to win this game, because it could honestly go either way. Like, it's going to be a really close game. No matter what, because it's such a good defense on the Colts side. They're so well coached. They have a great offensive line. They have a veteran QB. They've been dominating teams over the past 2 weeks, while we have barely won our games. So I was very hesitant to pick the Bears to win this, and I still think it's going to go either way. But because the Bears have not lost yet, I'm not going to pick against the Bears until we actually lose. I have the Bears going into this game and beating the Colts by a score of 21-17. to move us on to being 4-0 on the season. Which, by the way, guys, if we are actually 4-0 this Sunday, I'm going to absolutely lose my mind, okay? You guys think I lose my mind at 3-0? watch me at 4-0, okay? You guys have seen me over the past 2 years. Like, I get happy at pretty much any win. Even that Cowboys win we had last year where we had already pretty much tanked on the season. There was not really much hope, but we beat the Cowboys late in that year. Like, I was so happy after that win because I just love watching the Bears win football games. And if we actually move on to being 4-0, like, my hype level, my excitement is going to be exploding. It's going to be through the roof. So I really hope we do get this win, but it's not going to be easy in any way. And I could honestly see us losing this game very easily because, I mean, I've already said it pretty much this video. Like, the Colts do have a really good defense. I don't think Nick Foles is going to have a great day in this one. The Colts defense is going to game plan for him. They have a lot of film on Nick Foles, obviously, through the past, like, 11 years. So there's a lot of film that they are going to study, and they're going to be a lot better than the Falcons secondary was against Foles because, you know, the Falcons secondary also could not plan for Nick Foles. He kind of just got put in there in the third quarter at random. So it's going to be a prepared defense. It's going to be a hungry defense. It's going to be a tough defense to face off against. And Nick Foles is not going to have a great day, but he's going to put up enough points in the second half to beat this team. And our defense, the Chicago Bears defense, I think is going to do a decent job against Phillip Rivers and this Colts offense. This Colts offense has not gone up against any defense like the Chicago Bears defense, even though the Bears defense has not been great to begin the year. Like, we're pretty much mediocre right now. We're nowhere close to being elite. The talent is still there, and give this defense enough time, I think it is going to gel, and it's going to be looking a lot better than it is, you know, over the past 3 weeks. Like, I do think we are going to get a lot of pressure in Phillip Rivers' face because we do have guys like Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack, you know, Robert Quinn having a lot of success so far. We're likely going to stack the box, make Phillip Rivers beat us deep because that's the one area where he's not been able to have a lot of success. So expect Chuck Pagano to go into this game and really, you know, feast on the weaknesses of this Colts offense, if he can. You know, obviously I'm not the biggest fan of Chuck Pagano, but going into this game against his old team, you know, obviously Chuck Pagano was the coach of the Colts for, I think, a couple of years, like 4 or 5 years, and he did have, you know, a decent amount of success there. I predict he's going to have something to prove against his old team. He's going to be a man on a mission. Now, is that kind of wishful thinking? Maybe it is. Okay, you be the judge. But I do think Chuck Pagano does have some level of talent calling plays, which we have just not seen yet so far. Okay, so hopefully that shows up at some point. But I do think the talent that we have on this defense, it should be able to neutralize, you know, Phillip Rivers and this offense. Now, my offensive MVP for this game is going to be wide receiver Anthony Miller. I think Anthony Miller showed that he has a great connection with Nick Foles. He did drop a pass in the end zone for Nick Foles, but after that, you know, you guys all saw that Get to the L video where Nick Foles was communicating with Anthony Miller. He was like, oh, get to the L and the ball will be there. And sure enough, the ball was right there. So I think the two are going to have a really great chemistry because Miller is able to get open deep at least a couple times a game. It's just that Trubisky has missed him so often in his NFL career. So if Nick Foles can hit Anthony Miller on these deep balls at least once in this game, I mean, hopefully at least once these pretty good defensive backs mess up, I mean, Anthony Miller could have a pretty decent stat line, at least the best out of all the other receivers here. So I predict him having 90 yards and a touchdown as well. For my defensive MVP for this game, I have that being Kyle Fuller, cornerback Kyle Fuller, who's been having one of the best starts to any season in his career so far. I mean, he's been absolutely lights out. He's been allowing a passer rating of below 40, a lot of incompletions, a lot of plays on the ball, a lot of great tackles as well, and interception too. Like, he's been making plays all across the field, and I expect that to continue in a game like this against a quarterback like Phillip Rivers, who has thrown a decent amount of picks so far. So I have him getting another pick in this one and overall being a monster like he has been through the past 3 weeks. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I want to say in this video. It's going to be a very tough matchup, a very tough team we're going up against, the best defense so far, and definitely the toughest matchup so far. So Nick Foles and the Bears are going to have their hands full to hopefully beat this team. Hopefully we do beat this team, because moving on to 4-0, I mean, that would be giving us a very good chance to make the playoffs, and all of Chicago at that point would be completely on the hype train, hopefully. Like I said earlier, if you're cheering against Nick Foles in this game, if you are so emotionally attached to Mitch Trubisky that you cannot even stand to support the quarterback that is on your team right now, get the hell out of this YouTube channel, okay? Because we are Bears fans here. We are diehard Bears fans. We're going to support whoever the hell QB1 is. And right now, that just happens to be Saint Nick, number 9. So Saint Nick, man, lead us to the promised land. Do some crazy things out there. Work your magic on this Colts defense. Let's hope for a 4-0 start. As always, guys, bear down.